Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. Today's episode is full of brand new spring DIY inspiration for you, all for springtime. It is a special collaboration with some sweet friends of mine. I'll tell you about that as we get into the video. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. If you do like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up. But let's go make some DIYs. I've wanted to make a wreath like this for a couple of years, and when I found this clearance garland at Hobby Lobby, this is from the wedding section, I knew exactly that it was my time to make it here. This is just some lamb's ear, but I'm showing you this because I want you to look at the clearance section at your craft store, and when you find things like this was $5 for this, and it was such a perfect deal, and there's so many different things that you can do with garland, even though you may think like, oh, I don't decorate with garlands a whole lot. Trust me, you can always find something to do with them. So this is just a grapevine wreath from the floral section of your craft store. I think I show here it's like $5.99. Sometimes you can get them on sale. You might have some kicking around in your stash. Sometimes you can reuse them from season to season and just redecorate the stuff, cut the stuff off from the prior season, and you have a base to work with for the next. So we're going to take this lamb's ear and we're going to go around the entire face of the wreath form here. And you can kind of see I'm just twisting it to see if I have enough. I end up having extra, so I don't even end up using all of the garland here. So to adhere this together, there are several different things you could do. I am a fan of the zip tie method. I picked these up in the automotive section at the dollar store, and they are fantastic to use. You can buy them on Amazon. You can really buy them anywhere, but if you happen to be a Dollar Tree shopper, that's where you'll find them. So there is a part of the grapevine wreath that wraps around that kind of binds all of this together, and I'm working with that piece, and I'm sticking that zip tie underneath that and then going over my lamb's ear. And then I like to use my pliers to kind of start the zip tie, and then it's really easy just to pull and zip that down, and it is not going to budge or move. I'm kind of twisting it so that way the leaves hide the zip tie, but I will show you later on in the wreath when we get to this point what you can do to hide those, so you don't have to really worry about that entirely yet. But I'll show you here that I'm just pulling the garland taut, that lamb's ear taut on there, and then when I get to that next space, you can see where I stick that under that piece of the grapevine that binds the wreath together. Then that is my next natural point that I will adhere and zip tie my garland to it. Some floral wire would work fine if you like to do that. I don't really recommend gluing the garland down, but even if you were to just tie it with some twine at each point, that would work as well. But you want to make sure that you're twisting your garland so the fullest, because there's definitely like a front and a back to this garland. So you want to make sure that oh my gosh, I can't talk, that the front is facing outward and it's not twisted or anything. So as you're just winding this round, making that circle, you just want to make sure that it's not twisted or anything. I felt like everywhere that main piece of the grapevine was wrapped around, that it was enough space that it was not going to sag anywhere, the lamb's ear, and that it was pulled tight enough. And if you feel like maybe it's not, or you need more, just feed that zip tie through some of the grapevine pieces in there. It's going to be fine. Trust me, as long as you're snagging some of the grapevine to hook this to, you're not going to be able to mess this up. It's going to work great. So now I'm to the point where I'm back to the beginning. I've made it all the way around, and I just have to decide where I want these two to meet up. I don't want there to be a big bulkiness area where they meet up. So you just want to be conscientious of, you're going to hook it up where the end is, and then you'll pick a spot to kind of trim this off and make sure that it looks natural, like this is just a continual circle of your garland. I'm just using my snippers here. These came from Lowe's. You can get them at any hardware store, but they are nice because they have that really easy to use handle. And I will just take those and go around now and trim off all of these stems, if it were, that are from my zip ties. Now these are some terracotta pots that I got. They're just like 1.5, 2 inch. They're really small. But I bought a whole box of them at the thrift store when my family was traveling. We were at this little teeny town and I was like, oh, I've got to run into this thrift store. And I got a box of probably 40 of these for $1. So definitely a bargain. And I use these all the time. So check those thrift stores and look for some cute pots like these. If not, you can get them in like a 3-pack at the Dollar Tree. But I kind of got a little heavy there. I was going to distress these, and so I'm just showing you, wipe it off and then sand it back if you get a little too heavy. But I wanted these to look a little bit aged, so I'm just using some paint to do this. I know there's different ways that you can actually age terracotta, but for the purpose of this wreath, we're just going to go ahead and dry brush some splotchy white paint to add a little bit of texture, make them look old. So now I'm just dry fitting them where I want them on my wreath. I want these to kind of go around in like a little pattern here all the way around. I have 6 terracotta pots. So I decided to put like a clock face. If you imagine that I have one at 12 o'clock, one at 6 o'clock, and then I have one at 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock, or 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. I hope that makes sense. Maybe just watch what I'm doing rather. But to get these on my wreath, there's a little hole in the bottom of the terracotta pots. So I just feed a little bit of twine through that. You may have to put a little bit of your hot glue, and when it cools, you can kind of press it with your fingers and twist it, and it makes kind of like a little hard end to your twine that you can feed through the bottom of your terracotta pot and then tie it on. Super simple. And I just love how easily this worked. So I'm just going to flip over the pot, and then I will just tie this in a knot on the back. And these are super secure. If you feel like you want to double up on the twine, you can. But honestly, if you tie them tight on here, these are so secure. And then once you have it tied on there, you can kind of position that pot there. I kind of wanted these going in like a circle, so you'll see that the opening kind of goes, the next one will face that same direction coming down. You'll see what I'm talking about here as I go around the wreath. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'll just kind of let you watch how I tie these on. You can see I hit that with the hot glue. It will slide really easily through the bottom there, since it added a little bit of stiffness to the end of that twine. If you can't get your fingers down in there, or you have longer nails like me that it's hard to grab those, some needle nose pliers are your best friend. I decided to start and do my one at 12 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. So you can see how that opening of the pot is going to face that direction, like they're continually going around in a circle facing the same direction. Again, it's up to you. If you don't like how mine looks when it's done and you want to tie yours on where they're all facing the middle, do it however works best and what you like. But this is just going back to your gift tying skills here. I'm just going to hold this down and tie it into a knot, and I do this for all 6 pots. As I'm finishing up this side, I'm seeing how cute it all looks. I love that terracotta color with the splotchy white paint on there to make it look a little bit aged with that lamb's ear. All of the feels going on here are so great for spring, and I'm loving this. You guys, this ends up being one of my most favorite wreaths I've ever done. I'm so excited to put this on my front porch. Now I'm tying my last one on here. You can see how the opening of this pot almost looks like it's upside down because they're all kind of going in a natural circle around there. So that's what I was talking about. That was kind of hard for me to explain. So hopefully you can see what I meant, but you just want to trim off all of the excess of the twine on the back here. And oh my gosh, look at how cute. Now you could just stop right here if you wanted to. I'm going to put a little bit of Spanish moss in each of these. So I just put a little bit of hot glue. This will cover that twine. So you won't be able to obviously look at them and see like, oh, she just tied it on with twine. So it kind of just is like, oh, I hope that people will have no idea how these pots got on there, but you know, you and I will know. But this just covers the inside of the pot there. And you could even stop with just the Spanish moss in there if you wanted. It's totally up to you. This is one of those projects that you make it match your decor, and this is just giving you the basics and then you take it and run with it. I feel like the Spanish moss just adds another little textural element, and I just really love it. I decided to get into my spring pick scraps. These are all just little pieces that I have left over from other floral projects I've done. See if I had some cute little spring greenery to bring in here. Now you could stop with the Spanish moss. You can add whatever type of flowers you want. Some succulents would be beautiful in here, but I'm just kind of playing around. I end up doing 3 different groupings, so that way I have 2 pots that are matching on my wreath. So you can kind of see the way that I did this, but just some little pieces, little scraps. I'm not filling these up very full, just enough. It brings a little bit of a yellow into it, a little bit of a white, but they were all just really beautiful, and I felt like this really kind of finished it off nicely. And since they were pieces, you can literally see I'm having to glue like each individual piece. And this is where that Spanish moss really comes in handy, because it will give the glue something else to adhere onto, helping keep your pieces glued in nicely. Now, since we did use quite a bit of hot glue on the Spanish moss and also those little floral pieces, I'm just blasting this with my heat tool. This is going to minimize and get rid of any of your little hot glue strings or webs that you might have. You definitely don't want those, so definitely hit that with your heat gun. But look at how beautiful this looks. Oh my gosh, this is so perfect for springtime. I am so excited about this. Like I said, this is one of my most favorite wreaths I've ever done. I love the little pots on here. I just think this turned out so beautiful. I would love to know your thoughts on this, and if you're going to try it, what are you filling your pots with? Today's video is part of a very special and very fun spring collaboration. I am joined by Wendy from White Sparrow Living, Linda from Linda's DIY by Design, and Patty from Patty J. Good DIY. You guys know these ladies. You love them. They always make such beautiful DIYs, and we've all joined together today to make this playlist with all sorts of fun spring DIY and inspiration for you. All you have to do is check out that link that is in my description box, as well as pinned in my comments. It'll take you right over to the playlist and play all of their videos. I am so excited to see what everyone creates. Let's get right back into the DIYs. I'm using one of these little bunnies from Dollar Tree. They've had these forms the last several years, and I have a couple of them in my stash, but I've actually never used one to craft with. So this is a first for me. I am just filling the little holes at the top where the hanger went with some hot glue. I'll sand that off. Some spackling would work just fine. Since I'm not hanging this, I just don't need those holes. Now I'm going to give this a nice coat of fresh white paint to brighten it up a bit, only to go back over it with some antiquing wax in just a second to dirty it up. You'll see what I mean. So I'm putting a little bit of antiquing wax because this has a wood grain texture. I thought I would put this on and then dry brush the white back on it to brighten it up, but it ended up looking very much like a wood tone, which I actually kind of liked. So paint it whatever color you would like, I guess is the message here. But you can see here how I'm just going over with a little bit of white paint, and it will hit all of those raised areas, and where it mixes with that antiquing wax, it does just create this beautiful natural wood tone color. And since not all bunnies are white, I feel like it works. Now you can see I kind of got a little bit heavy-handed in that one area right down the middle there. So to fix that, I'm just putting a little bit of antiquing wax on there and blending it in, and I think it looks great. Now this is a 2-pack of eggs, also from Dollar Tree here. I'm going to do the same thing to cover up the hole in this, just a little bit of hot glue. We're going to have our little bunny kind of hold this egg here. And so I'm just going to take that hole away, and then I'm going to give this a nice fresh coat of white paint as well. Now this is some Mod Podge here. I'm just going to put a thin layer of this. I have a darling napkin that I'm going to use over this, so I'm going to put on my Mod Podge and let that dry completely. Now I picked up this set of napkins from Home Goods. However, I mean, your places to get napkins, list your favorite place down in the description below, but napkins are sold everywhere, so find your favorite napkin. This just had a really cute design on here, very vintage. I love the little chicks on it. It does say Happy Easter, but I feel like you could use this for Easter and springtime together. I'm just going to separate the layers of the napkin because you just want one layer. And then using a little bit of water on a paintbrush, I will go around the design here, and using a pencil eraser. This is my favorite hack when it comes to working with napkins now. Use a pencil eraser. It gets into those little detailed areas that you want to get, and it tears the napkin without ripping too much. It's perfect. Try it next time. You'll thank me later. Now I'm just going to center this design on our little egg here, and you can see this napkin has 3 designs left that I can use from that one napkin. Now remember, our Mod Podge is dry. I let that dry completely. This is a technique that I am new to and I am loving it. So I will just place some parchment paper over this, and then taking my little teeny heat press, an iron would work fine as well. But I love this little heat press. They're about $25 on Amazon. I'll leave a link in my description box. I use mine all the time. But just going over the design, this just reactivates that Mod Podge, so that way it's bonding the napkin to your surface. Now there was a little overhang from my napkin, so in a slow downward motion, I will just sand that off with my fingernail file. I'm distressing the edge a little bit here. I end up doing something else to it, so this is totally optional. Just kind of do what you like and what looks good to you. You can see I even tore my napkin, but I just went over it with that heat press, and it bonded it right back. But again, I just go around this thinking I wanted kind of a rustic look, but I'll show you what I do in just a moment instead of this. This is a little bit of white paint left in my brush. I'm brushing over that napkin. It's going to give it kind of an aged, worn look. Totally optional. I like that. So it just depends if that's something you want to do. Now, I have this script stamp that came from Hobby Lobby. A lot of you might have some from other brands. Totally optional here. I thought this was just something I wanted to try to give the bunny texture. I love how it turns out, but I go in all different directions with my script. Some of it's darker, some of it's fading. I'm not worried about being perfect here. We're just giving the bunny some texture. I'm placing that egg down kind of where it would go, so I can kind of see where I would maybe want to add some more script. Go as heavy-handed, as light-handed, or not at all with this. It just is up to you. Since I'm working fairly quick while I'm doing this project, I normally would let this sit overnight, but I do use my heat tool to dry that ink because I do want to kind of dry brush over it, make it look a little bit more faded. So I don't want the ink to run. So depending on the type of ink you have or how long you set it, you may need to do that or skip that step. And you don't even have to do this. I just wanted it to look like this bunny has been sitting for years and looks a little faded. Now here's what I was talking about with the edge of the egg. I'm taking some Rub and Buff, a little bit of antique gold, and I'm just going around the edge. This napkin has a little bit of gold foil on it, and this helps tie that in. And I actually really love the look. It's kind of giving French country vibes here. And so I thought the gold really added a nice touch to it. So I do like that. You could use antiquing wax too if you wanted. Now to glue our egg onto the bunny, I am putting a couple of the tumbling tower blocks on the back to pop it out so it looks a little bit more 3D. And then just using some hot glue, I'm going to set this up and make sure it's exactly where I want it. Now I want some Spanish moss coming around this, almost like a little nest. I love the texture that this adds. I feel like this also kind of brings that French country vibe into it. So I tuck a little bit of hot glue behind the egg, and then I start out with a pencil, but I end up realizing that a craft stick is actually much more useful when it comes to doing this here. So you can see I just kind of shove some hot glue up underneath the egg, and then I will use that craft stick here to slide that up. So therefore it's popping out. It has that 3D element and it adds a little bit more texture to it. It doesn't take a whole lot of Spanish moss when you're doing this, just a little bit, enough to come out. And again, this is something that's totally optional. I love the way that this looks on here in springtime. Spring and fall decorations, I love to use Spanish moss with. I'm not really sure why, but it just is my jam. So again, if it's not yours, you could do some reindeer moss, would look really cute, or just leave it blank. We want to give this a little bit of a trim here, so I'm just going around any of the really long pieces that are really kind of squirrely and just kind of way out there. I trim those back, and then I also will trim around the shape of the egg here so nothing is totally like obstructing the design on that egg. Now this is a sign from Dollar Tree. I wanted this to have a base so it would sit up. And so this is kind of a fun way to do this here. It just a circular piece of wood or even a square piece of wood would work fine. Something you just want to use as your base. I'm just showing you I have this Dollar Tree sign here, so I'm using it. Now I remove all of the little florals, the ribbon, and also the hanging tag from it. And then I need to take off that, it's like a stick, it's not a sticker, but like that thing that says welcome on it that makes it look like a log. I'm just like a slice of wood. I'm just going to go ahead and spray it with some water, use my emery board to kind of rough up that paper so the water will saturate in. And this took about 5 to 10 minutes, so a little bit tedious, but you just kind of keep working with it. You're going to spritz it, scrape it, sand it, and eventually it will melt that adhesive and it will all come off. I did soften the edges by sanding them down a little bit, and this part my phone stopped recording, so I'm just going to walk you through this. I took 3 of these little cubes and some hot glue, and I glued them each to the base of the bunny, the back of the bunny, and then to the sign to have it as your base. And then I also put a little bit of lamb's ear, just glued some pieces in to kind of tie it in with that base. Totally optional, you could leave it blank if you wanted. I even tucked a little bow in there. I thought it was cute. Make it your own and have fun with it. But I think this turns out darling. I think this is perfect for spring and Easter. If you're one of those that kind of likes to put your decorations up once for the season and then be done, I think this is such a fun piece here. What do you guys think of this? I would love to know your thoughts on it. This is a super cute and fun little idea for a riser. Both of these pieces came from Dollar Tree. Now this metal candle base is a little flimsy, so I was just trying to bend it to be as straight as I could. And then I'm using this little scalloped tray that is available in the Crafter's Corner at Dollar Tree. Now, using a couple of tumbling tower blocks, I'm going to glue them to the top of our candle holder here, and then we're going to glue this to the wooden tray. Now, I initially was going to paint this all the same color and do kind of a different technique with it. However, as I started painting this, I ended up really liking the gold color with the paint that I was using. So in full disclosure, if I was to do this again, I would paint the wooden piece now before I glued it onto the base. But since I thought I was going to be doing this all the same color, that's why it kind of is the way that it is. So just keep that in mind. I'm using duck egg, vintage duck egg from Dixie Belle. I love this color. It is kind of a bluish eucalyptus. I just love it. I think it is such a fun color, and I feel like it's perfect for spring as well. Now, this is when I was deciding I liked the gold color on the base, so it was a little tedious getting the underneath, which you do want to do because you will see the underneath part. To brighten up that gold, I'm using some antique gold rub and buff to go all over this. That's just going to take care of any imperfections. And while I had that, I decided to go along all of the edges on my little tray. And this works out so nice because you get that beautiful scalloped edge. And so it's going to hit that and it's going to highlight that and make it so beautiful. And when the light catches it, it is so pretty. You could also do this with some antiquing wax. You could also sand this if you wanted to have more of a rustic look with it. For some reason, the gold was just hitting me today when I was doing this DIY, and so I just kind of went with it. So if gold is not your thing, you have plenty of options. I even went and rubbed along the surface to kind of give a little bit of a hint of the gold because when the light catches it, it was so pretty. So I just kind of wanted to bring as much of it in as I could to tie the two together. Here it is completely done. This was such an easy project, something that you could do with kids or grandkids even to have a cute little riser for their nightstand or something. I just think this turned out beautiful, perfect for springtime, or really, this is an everyday piece. This is something that you could use and decorate for all different seasons, but I think it turned out so beautiful. You'll have to let me know your thoughts on this. Do you love risers as much as I do? Once again, I had way too much fun making some spring decor. I love how all of these turned out. They're going to be perfect for springtime. That riser is going to be perfect for all year. I just think it's so cute. And I really just had so much fun coming up with these. I think this bunny turned out so cute. I really do get French country vibes from it. And I just think it is so absolutely fun. But you guys, I really think my favorite today is for sure the wreath that I did. I just love the little pots in there. I feel like it's perfect for springtime to leave up all the way until summer. So I think it's going to be great, especially where I have a bunch of different potted plants on my porch. I think it's going to just blend in and fit so cute. My door is kind of like a bluish color, so I really think those terracotta pots are going to pop against that. I just think it's so beautiful. Remember that today's video is part of a playlist. I am so excited for this playlist of all of these wonderful spring decor items that everyone has for you. So check out that link down in my description box. You guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you like the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.